Hi, I'm Raul, welcome to Parquet, and I realized I cannot make entertainment videos anymore, specifically reaction type videos, because it turned out that I'm much more of a quiet, peaceful guy rather than a meme devourer. So from now on, I'll try to shift the content to something more educational-ish, where there are plenty of YouTubers who make that type of content and are very good at it. Just to name a few, Cody Coke, yes, I'm PewDiePie. In fact, they inspired me to start this YouTube channel, so thank you guys. But I realized I'd much rather prefer listening to an audiobook than searching for memes on Reddit. I started thinking, maybe I can build an audience around the things that I care about, which is wandering, improving, and having fun along the way. Speaking of which, let me introduce myself. I'm Raul, I'm a 20-year-old medical student in Romania and I have quite a lot of hobbies, but I chose to focus on YouTube in particular because, as far as I'm concerned, it fits me best. So from now on, as I said before, I'll try to shift the content to something more educational-ish, but not necessarily because I don't quite know the direction of the channel right now, so I'm still discovering myself. With that being said, let's talk about how I approach my 20s and why you might consider my approach as well. The first thing that I want to say is that this video is not supposed to be some life advice type thing. In fact, who am I to give you life advice? So why bother thinking about how you're gonna approach your 20s in the first place? Why make this period so special? As many other people far wiser and smarter than me said, your 20s will dictate to some great extent how the rest of your life is gonna be. Your 20s will dictate most of your future habits, how you view the world, and how you're gonna act about it. Gary Vee is a big advocate of using this 10-year window to work your face off and discover yourself. I don't think everybody should work as much as Elon Musk does, because everybody has a different pace, a different work ethic, and some of you actually want to have lives. However, I buy into the idea that the main focus of these 10 years should be to build something long-term, learn as much as possible, rather than make a bunch of money and please your parents. So here's 5 things I will give my focus on for the following 10 years. Remember, this might change from time to time as I learn new things and it might not apply to everyone. It's more of a mindset rather than a bucket list type thing. The first most important thing I will focus on in my 20s is getting to know myself. Picture this, you've just finished high school and you're faced with a lot of changes in a very short amount of time. Sooner or later, your high school buddies will no longer be there because all of a sudden everybody got something to do. Half of them will go to college where they'll meet new people and basically forget about you, and that's perfectly fine because chances are you are gonna do the same. And the other half will go get a job and will no longer have time to hang out. Good or bad, this is the reality for the vast majority of people and will have a different impact from one person to another. However, for most of us, especially nowadays with the coronavirus, it will lead to less social interaction. I'm not saying that life ends after high school, I'm just saying that there will not be the same bond as it used to be. With that being said, you'll be put to spend much more time by yourself, which is great because you'll have the chance to discover what gives you joy, what motivates you to get up from bed every morning. And if you play your cards right, you might actually discover what path you want to take in life. Think about it this way, you have a place where you want to go to, you take the car to get there faster, you're using the map because you don't want to miss any street, you put the best gas into your car, you're driving as fast as possible, and after 20 minutes, you realize you've been driving the opposite direction from the past 20 minutes because you changed your mind and it turned out that that's not actually what you want. Wouldn't it have been a lot easier to just think about the destination before consuming your resources? If you know exactly who you are, you'll be able to achieve greatness. Think of any person who's a master of their craft, whether it's a really good actor or Zuckerberg. They got there because they understood who they were first and then used that to their advantage to build their lives around their careers. That's why knowing yourself is the #1 thing on the list. Next. The second thing on the list is human-oriented as well, but this time we are switching perspectives. If #1 was about ourselves and learning how to take advantage of the time spent by ourselves, #2 is all about appreciating the people around us and learning how to treat them. I cannot stress the importance of people you know, like, and trust in your life, and vice versa. It took me a while before I figured out the difference between friends and people I hang around with because of the environment, and I was stunned to discover that I'm not quite good at people. The ability to filter between who's allowed in your life and who's not is a skill by itself. It's called people skill, and it regards knowing how to communicate and deal with people. Clippers. I find this very important, and I believe that if you can hang with people you resonate with and avoid the ones that you don't, you'll be able to prevent a lot of suffering and avoid wasting energy because whether we like it or not, we, people, are power consumers. You can seek improvement in any area of your life, but as long as you don't get rid of the people who drain your energy, you'll be stuck with them. And here's where it gets tough. It always comes in sweet forms, like the ones who drain your energy the most are probably some of your closest friends or even boyfriend or girlfriend who used to be sweethearts when you met them, but now interests changed and all of a sudden you don't get along with each other? Sometimes a good talk might help a lot, but the problem is people hardly change, and even though that's possible, it takes a lot of effort to do so. Think about it. Consider that as well when deciding on that. Now, I'm not saying to be a loner and leave all your friends behind because they are all losers and you're Lion King. I'm not into that at all. As I said earlier, I appreciate people and I think they are very important. I'm just saying that people around you will dictate whether you're moving 10 steps behind or 10 steps ahead. That's why people skill is the second thing on the list. The third thing I will focus on in my 20s is building habits and quitting ones. I put them on the same page because they are quite similar. There are a lot of articles, books, YouTube videos, and the list goes on why it's important to build the right habits in the first place. However, whether it's a shallow habit like drink water instead of Coke or a deep one like keep your calm when someone screams at you, forming good habits is crucial. We humans are creatures of habit, and the good part is all this stuff could be learned. The sooner we shape our way of thinking, the better, right? On the other hand, we unconsciously build new habits anyway, whether we like them or not. The problem is, most of the time, our brain thinks of the most pleasurable and least demanding things to do because of evolutionary reasons. That's why it's so easy to just grab a glass of Coke when you're thirsty or scream to someone when they call you dumb. That's fine, all of us face that, and sometimes, even with practice, there will still be moments when you lose control to your animal brain. However, we can improve it by slowly quitting our toxic habits. I'm not a guru on this topic, I'm too young. But if I were to make a recommendation, that would be start building reasonable habits that only rely on you. A good example would be when someone asks if you want something and you instinctively respond with no, but then they insist and then you say yes to please that person. A good habit here would be to actually think if you want it, and if that's not the case, have it as your final answer no matter how much the other person insists. That only depends on you, it costs you nothing, and in the long run it will help you a lot. Cool. The fourth thing on the list is spending time on meaningful productivity. I'm a strong believer that small things done consistently play a role in shaping your future self, but as a side note, that doesn't mean that anything you do counts. This one in particular was hard to digest because I used to think that everything that we do adds up in some long-term plan, but in reality everything works with momentum and it takes serious time to build. Say you want to start a blog but you only write there over the weekends, or even worse, when you remember to, you might do it at this pace for a solid 10-year period and nothing might really happen. It's like a plane that needs a certain amount of speed and power to take off, right? It might run at 100 miles an hour forever, unless it doesn't hit 500 miles an hour or whatever the number is, it will never take off no matter what. That brings us to the second habit to build, which is only give time to meaningful productivity. That translates into only give your time to things that really matter to you and have time to build. Otherwise, you'll find yourself trying 4 things at a time, but you'll never be able to say, I'm good at blank. And you'll waste a bunch of hours feeling productive when in reality you could have just played sports or hang with friends. Say you have some time you want to put into something. From personal experience, I would say find that one thing that allows you to practice it daily and become good at it, and eventually see tangible results. The fifth and last thing I will ensure to do regularly is reading. And before you think to yourself that you've heard this 1,000 times for all the motivational gurus out there, I realized I've made a huge mistake all these years reading. I used to look at reading as something that I do and automatically see improvements, where in reality that's not the case at all. Like, you can literally read a book a day and see no tangible results, like you're wasting time on the couch. Can you imagine? You could have played Dota instead. The problem is, after months or even years of doing this, you'll end up frustrated and say reading doesn't work, when in reality, well, you didn't work. Reading itself is pointless if you don't actually apply what you read. Last year, my ex bought me the 10 times rule by Grant Cardone, and I was excited because I heard about the book and wanted to read it, and I did. I finished the book and I haven't seen progress, by any means. Why? Well, mainly because the concept of the book is do 10 times more, think 10 times harder, take 10 times more action, blah blah blah. Basically, I read the book and it didn't work. Currently, I'm listening to Your Next 5 Moves by Patrick Bet-David, and the way I do it now is I take the time to understand it and let it sink in as soon as I find something that challenges my belief system, and don't move forward until I did so. Otherwise, if I were to listen to the book while driving or cooking, I wouldn't have retained the key elements, and the book would have been pure entertainment. That would be awful, because if I were to consume any kind of entertaining content, I would probably rewatch it That's Cringe by Cody and Noel, then listen to an audiobook. By the way, I might make a video in the future regarding different methods of consuming books, because I believe the phrase reading books is quite obsolete nowadays. Reading itself may or may not fit your lifestyle, especially nowadays when audiobook subscriptions become more and more affordable. Alright, this is the end of the video, I hope you enjoyed it. If you found any useful information, let me know in the comment section down below. If so, give me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe, because I'll be more consistent and put out videos more frequently. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next episode, bye!